The fact I am starting this video showing you clips of it cutting through metal should give you a good indication of what this machine is capable of doing. But if you're in any doubt, keep watching, because today I'm running you through this right here, the Sainsmart Genmitsu 4040 Pro Max. But before we get into that, make sure you stick around until the end of the video, where I'll be telling you how I'm giving away 3 of these CNC machines. But for now, let's dive in with one of the big upgrades, that router right there. It is so refreshing starting a video off not having to explain why I'm switching from a smaller spindle up to a trim router, because it already comes with it from the start. Now, a lot of desktop machines have something like this, a 300 or 400 watt spindle to begin with, and they're okay to get you started, but they do lack a little bit of power, and certainly the RPM range is extremely limited. Something like this packs 710 watts of power, and it has an RPM range of 6,000 to 30,000. So you're in a much better place to get started with the machine straight out of the box. And because it already comes supplied with the 65mm holder to take that router, if you wanted to upgrade to something like a 1.5 kilowatt VFD spindle, you can do that much easier as well, because say the holder is already there ready to take it. But that is more than enough to get you started, and to be honest with you, 99% of the time these trim routers are exactly what I'm using in my day-to-day operation. Now, the other huge advantage to Sainsmart's own trim router is this part right here, the ER11 Collet that is fitted to it. Now, to a lot of people this may look very similar to the type you get on Makitas or DeWalt's, but there is a huge difference, and it's the inserts that go within it. These little bits here, they allow you to change the size of the bit that goes inside of the router, and ultimately whether you want a 1/8 bit, a 6mm bit, a 1/4 inch bit, these are really easy and cheap to source. On their own, they're probably like $4 each, but you can buy an entire set of these with maybe 6 or 7 sizes in for less than $20. Now, just to bring that into comparison with something like the Makita, a 1-inch version for the Makita router will be something like $20 to $40 for one single bit, versus $20 for an entire set of these. So it therefore makes the ER11 Collet much more versatile, accessible, and ultimately cheaper for all the different type of bits that you want to fit. Now, some of you will be aware this is the upgraded version of its older brother, the 4040 Pro, or the Minifinity as I first nicknamed it. Now, the reason that is important is the Onefinity CNC machine is arguably the best in the market for where it sits. So to have a smaller version of that, it was probably going to be a success. And it was. The 4040 Pro was a great CNC machine. Not only was it very fast to assemble, we were talking something like 15 to 20 minutes, but it was also performing really good. There was a slight problem though. There was a bit of flex going on in the X and Y axis, and ultimately that is what this upgrade is about. They have addressed that and basically made this extremely solid. We are talking 16mm linear rods on the X-axis and 16mm linear rails on the Z-axis, and ultimately what that means is there is zero flex going on within that router and the Z assembly. So they have taken what was a great machine and made it even better, not just by adding the upgraded axis, but also including the router as standard. And what you can achieve with this machine out of the box really is phenomenal. They have elevated it so much. Now, I just said about what this is capable of straight out of the box, but I should highlight there are 2 things I've had to do to it to ultimately improve it. The first is optional, the second one is definitely compulsory. Now, the first one that I did was adjust some of the settings of the machine, and I'll put them all on screen just to show what I have done on this. But ultimately, the acceleration values on this are extremely slow, and what that means is it has to build up to its speed quite slow and then decelerate quite slow. And this ultimately adds a lot of time onto your jobs when you're trying to machine. So bumping those acceleration values up really will speed things up on this machine. And also taking the top speed up from 2,000 to 2.5, maybe even 3,000 if you wanted to push it, is absolutely fine. Because of the extra power and support on this machine, it can easily cut at higher speeds. Now, the second adjustment that I made is supporting the bed underneath. The reason this makes me pretty sad is because this was highlighted in my very first review, not just by me, by lots of other people as well. And it would have been a really easy fix for Sainsmart to have resolved just by giving you a bit of extra material to go under the bed and support it. And that is ultimately what I've had to do again, is put a piece of material under there, as I say, just to give it that extra support and stop the sag and bounce in the middle of the bed. If you're doing this, something around 18mm thick is ideal. Place it under there and ultimately it's going to stop that flex going on in the middle of the bed. Sainsmart, just supply us with a thin piece of 18mm MDF to go under there and you would solve this problem. So even though it should have been pretty obvious at the start of the video, let's answer the question of what can this machine. It's going to do your hardwood, your softwood, your plywood, your MDF. It's going to do your plastics, your acrylics, your composites. It will machine through stone, including things like corian. You can also do PCB boards on this. Carbon fibre, yes, as long as you do it in some sort of water bath, obviously for a health and safety reason, and obviously yes, it is also going to machine metal as well. Now the metal you have seen me machining on this is aluminium, brass and also mild steel. And as I say, it has been doing it absolutely fine, especially the softer materials like the brass and aluminium, absolute breeze. The mild steel I would probably say is pushing it and you have to go pretty shallow with your passes of like 0.1mm, but the bottom line is it was still doing it and leaving good results. Now I do have to highlight, this is not a metal milling machine, so if you plan to machine metal all of the time, this is not the one for you. This is if you want to machine metal some of the time, but majority of the time you're looking at your woods, plastics, acrylics, all of those type of things. So generally speaking, this can do a bit of everything. Now there's no point in talking about what this machine can cut without discussing how accurately it can cut through it. So in terms of the precision and accuracy of this machine, well, the backlash from it has been zero. Now if you don't know what backlash is, when your axis changes direction, you can sometimes get a little bit of slop in there and ultimately you lose a little bit of distance, but there has been zero with this, which is absolutely brilliant. And in terms of the precision, well, these holes were meant to be machined at 10mm in diameter. Measuring right at the top, we got exactly 10mm. Measuring deeper into the hole, we got 9.98. Now obviously my calipers are not particularly expensive, but it does give an indication of the accuracy that this can machine to. So in terms of software and operation, this is going to work with all of the most popular pieces of software out there. Carbide Create, Fusion 360, VCarve, Easel, and my personal favourite, Carveco Maker. So you really have got a good range to choose from, depending on whether you're looking at free product or you're happy to pay for better software. Now in terms of the actual operation of this, well, it will again run on your most popular piece of software such as UGS, OpenBuilds and GSender, but actually what is nice about this is it can also run wirelessly. Now I'm going to do a separate video on Sainsmart's wireless modules, but ultimately if you don't want to have a computer to run this machine, have a computer in your workshop, what you can do is install the wireless module and basically run this machine from your phone or tablet, just making life much easier and minimizing the need to have something connected like a PC or laptop. Now it can also run with an offline controller as well. Now I don't mind offline controllers, I just find their limitation is basically the functionality within it. So as a quick side by side, we have the offline controller and the wireless device. Now as I've already mentioned, the functionality of this is pretty limited. You load your job in via a memory card and you can jog through the menu system using the little wheel here, but ultimately you can't really do a huge amount other than run your jobs from this device itself. Now on the opposite side we have the wireless controller. Now this connects to the control board with a little cable and then means you can connect any device to it wirelessly, such as a phone or a tablet. And with the software that Sainsmart provide, you can ultimately do a lot more functions with the machine using that device than the offline controller. And even though I'm calling this a Wi-Fi device or wireless device, don't worry if you're not anywhere near a Wi-Fi signal. This generates its own Wi-Fi signal for you to connect to with your phone or tablet. So ultimately, this is just going to be a lot more versatile than the offline controller. Now in terms of the cost, this is obviously going to be more expensive than the original 4040 Pro, which usually sits around $600, $650. This is usually around $800 to $850, so a $200 increase. But do remember that for that, you're not just getting the upgraded axis, it is also the router as well, which I think on its own is like around $100. So actually it is a very reasonable upgrade. And if you can afford the Pro Max, even if it means saving up a little bit longer, it is definitely the best one to choose out of the the two options. Now the links in the description area will always take you to the best available prices for any machines you see on my channel. And the other thing I'll put a link to as well is just this XZ upgrade on its own. So if you have the original 4040 Pro, you can just buy this as a single piece to upgrade and bolster your original 4040 Pro and just make it an awesome machine. This can also take a laser as well if you want to install one on it. Now if you are planning to use a diode laser on this, I would definitely do those setting adjustments that I mentioned earlier on, because you will need those higher acceleration values to get the best out of it from this machine. Now I think I touched on assembly time earlier in the video. I sometimes forget what I've already mentioned, but this is one of the easiest machines to build on the market. We are talking somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes to get this all assembled. Most of these parts come pre-built, so it's just a case of linking them together, pouring a few bolts in, and you're pretty much done. Now obviously you've still got to then connect it to your computer and stuff, but the physical assembly of this machine is one of the easiest I have ever done. The stepper motors on this are still the same as the original 4040 Pro. They are NEMA 17 stepper motors, but they are some of the more powerful ones that you can get in this size. And ultimately, with this being a lead screw driven machine, it is going to generate enough torque to be able to push that router through pretty much any material that you need it to handle. The clearance from the bottom of here down to the bed is now 100 millimeters. Now the travel of the Z-axis is only around 80 millimeters, but it does mean that you can place thicker pieces of material under here should you want to machine them. Now this is one of those accessories that's a little bit niche. Not everybody wants one, but those who do usually want them really bad and make some amazing projects with them. Now this machine fully supports true fourth axis, and basically that means with an accessory like this, you're going to be able to do some great carvings in cylindrical objects, or turning square objects into cylindrical objects, whether that be in wood, plastic, acrylics or metal. You really can do some great projects, as I say, with these fourth axis accessories. Now in a previous video I think I said the Sainsmart 3030 Pro Max was probably one of the best machines you can get for under $1,000, especially in terms of what it can machine. Now I'm going to go as far as to say this has taken that crown. Obviously with the upgraded axis, minimizing all the flex in this, you get the router included as well. It is probably a good roundup to say this is the most versatile machine available for under $1,000. In fact, it's under $900, and in sale period it may even dip below that $800 mark as well. So definitely keep an eye on those links in the description area, because as I say, they will always take you to the best available price. So well done Sainsmart. This is really just elevated what the 4040 Pro already was, a great machine, and made it even better. Now I should also highlight that for people such as beginners, this extra support and strength minimizes a lot of issues that beginners often run into, because it can just drive through material easier and you've got less chance of breaking bits and things like that. It doesn't eradicate everything, but it does make life easier to have a much stronger machine. So if you can stretch to this machine, definitely do it. It is well worth it. And that is probably a good point to end this video on. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Obviously if you have, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. Any questions, comment down below. I will do my best to answer. Thank you all very much for watching. Final thanks as always goes to my patrons. If you want to get involved with one-to-one help, giveaways and early access to content, definitely check out my Patreon page. I'll see you all on the next episode. Now, if you've just watched the whole review to get to this point, thank you very much, because a lot of effort goes into making these videos, but ultimately you'll now hear about the giveaway itself. Now today is Friday the 25th. On Sunday the 27th, a video will be dropping on my channel about the giveaway, how to enter and all the details around that. So make sure you are subscribed, make sure you are following in order to go and enter that competition. If you have just watched the full review, you'll know this is an awesome machine and therefore an awesome prize for Sainsmart to be giving away. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you're following, and I will see you on Sunday when that competition goes live.